This program contains strong language and adult themes.
How well do you actually know your neighbour, your friend? How well do we know anybody, really?
I'd never met anyone like her, to be honest with you. Everything about her was just so over the top. It was all an illusion. Everything we thought we knew turned out to be lies.
Because to keep a secret, I could never keep a secret like that. It just seemed surreal.
Just because someone comes across as eccentric, it doesn't mean that they're instantly a murderer.
But I suppose you never know what goes on behind closed doors, do you?
Thank you, ladies. Both of them in an hour's time.
So, Beddau, a lot of people mispronounce it.
People say Beddau.
Be like, that's not how you pronounce Beddau. Beddau.
But obviously, I suppose you've got to have a little bit of Welsh in you.
Double D is in Welsh, and it's Beddau, short, not Beddau.
It's a very typical Welsh village.
Quiet, off the map sort of place. Unless you really knew what Beddau was, you wouldn't have any reason to come through or visit it.
Okay, you ready to play bingo?
There is this sense of community and people looking out for each other.
You were naughty. Yes, but you were naughty.
If we got a problem, we talk about it.
Stop it, Mary. Right, okay.
If something happens in Beddau, everybody gets to know about it.
Hello, Gareth Bishop speaking.
Hiya, Gareth. Someone said they found a dead body in the garden of the Tremacombe block of flats.
A body? You're having a laugh.
I think it's a lot of old garden waste. So don't worry, don't rush back. But when you can you get up here?
I was working in the station on the computer. Gareth came in and said,
I had a strange phone call off the housing officer saying one of the tenants in Beddau has just found a body, but don't panic, because I don't think it's a dead body, I think it's a load of rubbish. We'll have our lunch first.
I just immediately got up from my desk and said, look, we can't just leave this till you have dinner. we may have a crime scene. We need to go now.
There's the entrance to the flats, and you go right through to the garden at the back. I found it lying on the floor here, so just tucked up against the wall on the gravel. To me, it looked like somebody had left a roll of plastic there.
There'd been a couple of ladies who had found this object in the garden. A lady called Michelle. And her friend Rian had also been with her in the morning.
My name's Rian Lee. I've lived in Beddau the last 26 years. In the morning, I went over to Michelle's for a cuppa, and we thought, for a laugh, we'd play a prank. Michelle knew about this packet in the garden. She said there was this medical skeleton wrapped up in like a big package. So we thought we'd bring it in, put it on the settee. We were gonna knock the ceiling for the neighbour to come down just to play a prank, a joke. Michelle would do anything for a laugh, a bit of a joker.
Michelle told me then that she had thought that it was a medical skeleton, and it was Rian and Michelle then started to cut through the plastic.
Michelle was going like that while I was cutting it. She got fluidy stuff all over her hands. She said, it's dead body, it's dead body. I said, don't be so stupid, Michelle, it's not a dead body, I said. Phone the police, phone the police.
When she told me this, I didn't know what to think. I didn't know whether to believe Michelle and Rian or what.
We need to find out if it's a dead body or it's a medical skeleton. We'll start cutting home to have a look.
Gareth came back with his Stanley knife just to try and make a clean cut. So it was very, very difficult to cut through.
As you go deeper and deeper, I think there was a bit of carpet.
And there was a little sort of brown sludge coming out of it.
And then other plastic wrappings.
The sludge was getting thicker.
6 to 8 inches. That's how thick the layers were.
The smell was just overwhelming, so it obviously wasn't a medical skeleton. I looked over and you could see it looked like matted hair.
You step back a bit then.
It was clear to us it was a body inside this bag.
A dead body. We just found a dead body in Beddau.
Certainly wasn't something I thought I was going to be seeing that day when I went into work.
None of us could believe what we had found.
Straight away we got on the radio and contacted the control room to say we need the scenes of crime officers to come here immediately.
Somebody put up on Facebook, something's happened at Tremacum, a lot of police there. Every man and his dog wants to find out what's happening. Could you say rubbernecking? Yeah, you could.
I pulled up to the block of flats and I noticed 2 police officers at the main entrance of the door. My friend Michelle lived there. My heart is racing 9 to the dozen. Well, what could it be?
The thing is, the white tent goes up, so immediately people know that something has happened.
My mum lived in the flats in Tremacum, and I went into her and I said, Mum, what's going on? They've found a body. I said to me, so stupid. How long has it been there? I don't know. I just heard the rumours outside. That's the first I heard of it.
In other news, police say a body found behind a block of flats in Beddau was wrapped in plastic. A murder investigation has been launched as police try to establish the identity of the remains.
In 2015, I was Detective Chief Inspector working in the Major Crime Investigation Division. There hadn't been a murder in Beddau for almost 20 years. First thoughts naturally were, who is this person? Who last saw them alive? We had search teams in the garden, looking for any weapons, any clues, anything alien to that scene. The garden belonged to the 4 flats. The entrance to the garden was through the communal hall. There was a gate on the side, but the gate was padlocked. My thoughts were, well, if the gate's locked, then they've either had to put the body through the communal hall, or the person who's done it has got the key for the gate and can open it. The only other way that package could have gone there would have been thrown it over the gate. We spoke to the occupants of those flats, but no one had any recollection of seeing that package in the garden. You've got a body lying in a garden in Beddau. You don't know who the person is. You don't know who's responsible. You know, and potentially you've got a killer on the loose.
It got people worried, thinking somebody had come into the village.
People were on edge. I mean, when you get things like that happen in a small place, it does send shivers down your spine.
How could this happen in a small community where everybody knows everybody?
A lot of people I know don't lock their doors because they do feel safe in Beddau. You know, you do look at your neighbours then and you think, hang on now, how long have they lived here?
One of our fast-track inquiries, you look at missing person reports. Who from the area is missing? There were no live missing person reports. Had there been any disturbances recently in the area? But there was nothing. It was like a body had just fallen out of the sky and landed in a garden in Beddau.
Police say that the body, which has not been identified yet, was concealed above ground. The scene is being preserved to see if there are any clues either to the identity of the body or how it came to be there.
It was genuine concern for who it was, because it's somebody's daughter, son, mother, father. It could be somebody who never had anybody to take care of them.
There's 2 sides to Beddau. There's the warmth and the spirit of the community, and then there's the deeper, darker underbelly that lays in unemployment and drug use.
Beddau was for a very long time a very established mining village. And during that time, everybody sort of knew their roles. When the mines were closed and the coke works closed, the fabric of the community changed.
The land still bears the scars. People's hearts still bear those scars, you know, where the industry was taken out of it.
Times change, and I think a lot of people take drugs in Beddau, and we thought perhaps somebody had taken an overdose.
I mean, you used to have, when we were younger, a lot of people who were drug users would hang underneath it, so the only things you would sort of think at this point was somebody passed away or somebody had an overdose.
But then it came out that it was a body and it had been wrapped up.
What the heck has gone on then?
Your mind's trying to reconcile, well, what could have happened?
The packaging was extraordinary. There'd been 14 large ground sheets used to wrap the body. That body'd been wrapped some 41 times. This was a male. He was white, receding hair. He was around 5'6" tall, middle-aged. He had a gold signet ring on one of his fingers. The body was in really good condition. You know, there was skin, there was hair, the organs were intact, there were no maggots. The pathologist had dated the body as potentially weeks, maybe months, could be longer, depending on storage conditions. This body is probably recent, and the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. The victim had fracture to the skull, he had a fracture to the eye socket. It was quite clear this was a homicide investigation.
Officers confirmed that they'd launched a murder investigation, and it wasn't what people living near the Tremacum flats expected to hear.
Didn't think it would happen round here, you know, it's on your doorstep.
Quite scared, actually. Police say a priority is to identify the person and find out how they died. They want to speak to anyone who may have information.
The early lines of inquiry, just looking at the residents of the 4 flats. There was an elderly lady on the ground floor.
She was 93, rarely left a flat. She would absolutely categorically have had nothing to do with anything that went on there.
We spoke to the gentleman who lived in the flat upstairs, who had, vulnerability issues.
He'd only very recently just moved into that flat and wasn't capable of being involved in it in any way, really.
One of the flats was empty. The lady who lived in that flat, she'd been seriously ill with cancer, and she died October that year. There was nothing, there was no one had any knowledge of that package other than Michelle James. Michelle was a priority witness because she was the person who'd gone to the package and suspected there to be a skeleton in there. So we took Michelle James to the station, and over the next few days a series of interviews took place which were recorded.
The machine is now telling us that the recording has started. Just to let you know that this is being video recorded as well.
There was a couple of things I was querying. Why is she gone to this package? Why did she think there was a skeleton in there? Who had told her it was there? How long had she known it was there?
Do you know who placed that packaging with that person inside at that location? No. Lee. Go on. Said that there was. Told me, Rian, that there was medical skeleton at the back of the side. When were you first aware of it? Before Lee died. I heard her refer to having a medical skeleton. She said she needed it moved at the attic. It had to go to the attic. That's all she went on about. It's got to go at the attic. Okay.
Michelle's account was that her neighbour Lisa Bean, who died recently, who used to live in the flat number 57 just above Michelle, owned this medical skeleton which she believed to have been in that package in the garden. We needed to find out who was Lisa Bean.
I was tasked to carry out house-to-house inquiries, find out as much information as I could about Lisa Bean. For me personally, sort of gone to school in the area and know the people who live in the area. It's really important that we find who was she, where was she from, does she have any family?
When I first met Lisa Bean, she gave me the impression of a lady who was a very well-dressed lady back in the day. But she still wanted to keep that look. With her red nails, her lipstick.
First impressions when she walked in, off her trolley, she was just crazy, very eccentric. They were just waltzing the door. Hello, my darlings, put the fucking kettle on, will ya? God, who is this lady?
When she first turned up in there, for a woman in her early 60s, she was wearing denim shorts and fishnet tights, which isn't usual. I asked her about this once and she said, well, I like to be noticed, darling.
The impression she gave me was being very gypsy-ish, if that's the right word to use. She had like I don't mean this disrespectful to gypsies, but she had that sort of character.
She wasn't like a gypsy, a hippie.
That's the word, hippie. Yeah, it was very hippie-ish type.
Yeah.
A child of the 60s. That's the way to describe it. You're right, yeah.
She loved singing, and that was her passion.
I used to think that life could be so predictable.
She said she sang in many cabarets.
And was so unreachable.
Oh, darling, darling. You should have seen me on the stage. It was amazing.
Don't just be the art, darling. You are the art. Or don't just live art. You are art. So grander than life.
You turned a dark, cold night into a brand new, bright, sunny day.
It had to be, oh, darling, with a cigarette hanging out. That is Lee. Yeah. Did I do it right, Lee?
The problem was, she'd been ill for quite some time. About a year, she was terminally diagnosed with brain cancer. But also, she had died about a month earlier.
And that body was reasonably fresh, and the fact that she had been ill, I think, for up to 12 months prior to her passing away, would she even be capable of committing such a crime?
How could she have moved a body? How could she have killed someone? It just didn't make any sense to us.
So Michelle's account about her neighbour Lisa being sounded far-fetched. From our perspective, Michelle's story was somewhat confusing. For example, she mentioned issues with an ex-partner.
Me and Mike split up. I've been thinking about Mike a lot.
Mike being your previous partner?
I thought something had happened. You know, you get that feeling. I think Mike might have died. And that's the feeling I've had, you know, that, I don't know, just had a funny feeling about her.
Okay.
Because she hadn't rung me or nothing, you know.
I remember while speaking to Michelle at the crime scene, she starts telling me that she'd been teasing another tenant of the flat, saying that it was actually the body of her ex-husband, and she'd been using parts of it to make a stew that she'd been feeding him in the week.
You told P.C. Nichols that you then said to him, that's what we've been putting in the stew all week. Do you remember telling P.C. Nichols that?
No.
I'm going to ask you this question, even though I know what you're going to say. Are any of your previous partners within that packaging? That body?
No, they're not.
There was a number of little things she was saying which were really troubling me. Michelle James gave different accounts as to when she'd actually become aware of the package in the garden, initially stating it was a week ago, and then subsequently saying it was when the body was discovered. So all of those things together with the perceived joke about her turning her partner into stew really caused us some concern. We stopped our interview as a witness, and I made that decision to arrest her.
You've been arrested on suspicion of murder. Are you responsible for the death of the person inside that packaging?
No, I'm not. I'm innocent. I've got nothing to do with that body whatsoever, right? Nothing at all. And I'm going no comment all the way.
South Wales police have confirmed that a 45-year-old woman from Beddau was arrested on suspicion of murder.
Someone from within the village has been arrested for a murder. That was a major shock to us.
When I heard Michelle was arrested, I thought, oh shit. I mean, how could she be arrested on suspicion of murder? It's just crazy. It's absolute craziness.
Rian rang me and said, Lynn, Michelle has been arrested. And I'm like, whoa, hang on now. There is no way she would hurt anybody. The police, I know they've got to do their job, and I totally understand that. And they want answers. But so did we want answers.
But then there was, I suppose, relief in as much that, well, at least they've got the murderer.
Michelle James' ex-partner was male, white. I think he was around 42 years of age, which matched the body. It was really important that we traced him as soon as we could. But we couldn't find him. So when Michelle was in custody, we went to search her flat. We were looking for anything really which would connect her to this crime. What we did find was some blood staining on her mattress. So that had to be sent off to be compared to the DNA from the victim.
I can honestly say I was expecting to find a skeleton in our package, and not what we found. The sorriest thing I've done is to make friends with Lee.
Whilst I was waiting for the DNA testing, we were gathering any CCTV evidence near to the scene. We were looking for a car pulling up and putting that package over the wall, or Michelle James actually depositing the package. There was nothing overlooking our garden, just general day-to-day life, which it wasn't of any use. The DNA took a couple of days to come back from the blood on Michelle James's mattress. That DNA was linked to her ex-boyfriend, but his DNA didn't match the DNA of the victim. We subsequently traced her ex-boyfriend who'd been staying with his mother. The ex-boyfriend was clearly not the victim who was within the packaging. So after that first 48 hours, Michelle James released from custody. Michelle James clearly gone through an ordeal because she was 100% innocent. We've got no identity of a victim. The DNA wasn't on the database. We always look at the dental work, but we had nothing to compare to, so we couldn't identify this person through dental records. We got no CCTV evidence. We've recovered no weapons that match the injuries on the body, and we're really back to square one.
In the small garden behind the Beddau flats, Michelle James told me today about how she found the remains and how she feels she'll never get over the shock.
I think this block should be smashed to the ground. Do you mean? Because I don't think anybody'd want to live here after what's gone on here.
So it really affected Michelle. People in the area were calling her a murderer. It was just crazy.
They put 2 and 2 together and make 6. I totally felt devastated for her.
I thought that was a medical skeleton. That's what we was all told, it was medical skeleton, and that's what we all thought. But obviously now, everybody's found out different.
When Michelle was released, we were discussing what was asked and what was said, and she basically said, I told the police, Lynn, not once, not twice, many occasions, that this skeleton was from a lady who had just died and we hadn't long buried her, and that lady was Lee Sabine.
So the garden where the body was found belonged to the 4 flats, whilst it was shared, was really under the ownership and care of Lee Sabine. She had been responsible for it for many years, even to the point where she presented it so well that a local magazine had done a feature article on it some 3 years earlier. Coming from New Zealand, I've grown up with dirt, Lee explains. I love being outside, and I'd rather be mucking around in the garden than sat in front of the television. I do really love living in Beddau and feel part of the community. It's a special place. But when I first arrived 16 years ago, nobody was doing anything in the garden. It looked pathetic and neglected. Apart from the piece in the magazine, there was very little known about her at all in terms of formal official records. She had been arrested for shoplifting some years previously, but there had been no further action in court. We weren't really clear where she lived, who she'd been married to, where she'd grown up.
When I was carrying out my post-house inquiries, as I spoke to people about Lisa Bean, things started seeming off. Every resident I spoke to, they all had a slightly different take on who this Lisa Bean was.
I thought she was a nurse. I used to be a nurse, you see, darling.
She was apparently this very famous cabaret singer, dancer in her day.
She said she travelled, she had loads of dogs. She was a breeder at one stage.
Lee was a drugs counsellor, first and foremost.
You name it, and it sounded like she'd done it.
Nobody could agree on what Lee did for a living, but also where she was from.
She had a very strange accent. You know, when somebody's trying to talk quite posh, and they're not.
Because I actually thought she was from South Africa.
And I thought she was from New Zealand.
There was a slight bit of New Zealand accent, but that wasn't the strongest accent.
My son's mother-in-law is a Kiwi. It was an authentic accent.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a foreign accent, but it wasn't Welsh and it wasn't English
It
either.
sounded put on.
Some said that she was from Australia, some said she was from New Zealand, other people said that she was from Reading. Something was off with this character.
Lee was always talking about a medical skeleton. Personally, myself, I never seen the skeleton. On numerous occasions, she wanted it moved, and I would be like, oh gosh, I really haven't got time to do things like that.
She'd asked my oldest son if he could move it from outside and put it up in the attic, but he's busy in work.
We were sitting around the table having a cup of tea, and she mentioned the skeleton again. And I went, well, I hope it's not a bleeding real one, I said. And she went, you never know, Lynn, pointing that lovely red nail.
So speaking to all the different witnesses and people who knew Lee, I learned about one of her friends was Mary West. Now Mary West used to be my teacher.
I had a phone call from an ex-pupil of mine, a detective, saying,
Mrs. West, I need you to come to the police station to have a chat.
And I said, well, I'm busy this evening. Then he said to me, well, it is a murder inquiry, Mrs. West, so you'd better come down.
It seemed very strange having to get my teacher to toe the line.
Matthew asked me to go into how I knew her, so I explained. I was first aware of Lee in 2002 when my mother moved into their flat. She started saying, now there's this very eccentric lady from New Zealand there. I got to know Lee more during 2014 when my mother was ill. Lee would sit with her and chat to her. And she also used to ring my mother up every morning and say, I just called to say I love you. We were appreciative of the support Lee gave us. But then I heard from somebody that she'd been taken into hospital. It became evident in 2014 Lee had terminal cancer.
We managed to get it into a Bucking hospital, which is end of life. I went up there and I held her hand until she took her last breath.
She died about a month before the body was found. Ordinarily, we'd speak to family, but there was no family, according to the community.
After she died, I had to register the death. We were looking for paperwork. We just found these 2 passports. And the one passport was John Sabine. He was down as a contact. I'd never met John Sabine, but I knew because she told me that he was her ex-husband.
Through speaking to Mary and Lynn, we established that Lee Sabine had a husband called John Sabine. But there was no trace of this John Sabine.
So John Sabine's name came up on the voters register, but there was no record of him living there, which was odd. When we dug into that, then we found him on the tenancy agreement. She'd moved in with her husband February 1997. A number of members of the community were telling us that whilst they'd never seen John Sabine, that Lee had told them that she had been married, she had lived with him.
We would sit and chat, and I was interested. I said, oh, what happened to John? Oh, he left me, she said. He left me for another woman. Because he's Italian, that's what they do.
We knew that she had been married, obviously, and that he'd left her.
I can remember her talking about an abusive husband.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what she used to say, but I can remember a conversation around that.
She'd go, pfft. It was more like, it was just good riddance.
She told my mother that her husband had left her and that he'd left her quite destitute.
Strangely, when the first night I brought her home from hospital, I helped her undress, and she handed me her breast implants because she'd had a double mastectomy. And she said, this is why he left me. He said he didn't want to live with a hermaphrodite. So, I didn't ask any more questions.
A number of members of the community were telling us that he'd, run off with another woman, he'd gone to live in Newcastle.
But there was no trace of this John Sabine.
It did start to prickle my mind that John Sabine could potentially be the body in the bag.
When I was interviewed by Matt Phillips, he said to me that they thought that it could be John Sabine that they'd found, and I said, well, it can't possibly be John Sabine because I found the record of his death. When Lee died, I went to register the death, and they said, was she a widow or divorcee? And I said, I think she was a divorcee. And they said, well, if you go and check on the records. I've done quite a bit of family history, so I know where you need to look. I found a match for John Charles Sabine, born in 1929, and then the death was registered in Essex in 2001.
Mary West presented us with the death certificate for John Sabine, who'd actually died or been buried in Essex in 2001.
Her husband died years ago, so there's no way it could be her husband.
We had no real positive leads at this time, but there was just something wasn't sitting right with me. Lee Sabine had lived at 57 Tremacum since 1997. The flat had been vacant since her death on the 30th of October that year. I just sent detectives to just do an assessment of the premises, just to look for any clues, anything that could take us forward. So when detectives entered the flat, what they found was it had actually been stripped bare, even down to the carpets, which had been taken from the property, which did surprise me.
After Lee had passed, we knew we only had a few weeks to clear out her flat. I said to any of the girls, if you want anything, just take it, help yourselves. Michelle, she had a frog, which was a weight for a door. I had the Hoover. Rian had some jewellery.
There was an awful lot of catty bits, like hair straighteners. I never used it, it went in the bin.
We deep cleaned it all, it was spotless, it was immaculate.
Because Lynn had a cleaning company, she deep cleaned the flat. But we didn't realise that 2 weeks later it would become a potential crime scene.
It was disappointing. The only things that were left there really was some miscellaneous items, some boxes, lots of rubbish, broken ornaments. But there was one photograph which had been ripped up into pieces. And when we put that back together, there was a photo of a man. Written on the back was Derek, the man I truly did love. Who's Derek? Is Derek the person that's lying in the bag? It was really important that we found out who he was and what his relationship was to Lee.
She loved men. Oh, she loved it. Her male attention. Oh, yes.
Men, well, she would just pounce. 3 days before she died, she tried to snog the oncologist in the hospice when he went to adjust her syringe driver. So I was thinking, oh my God, this is slightly embarrassing, but it was like, he's a man, here I am. It was the way she was with all men.
Perhaps she'd come in the salon and then if there was a gent there, she thought he was nice. She would make it clear.
She did love having many male company in her flat.
There was kerfuffle going on outside the spa because some lady had gone on to her, I think, because she'd been having an affair with her husband.
Each to their own, isn't there?
My mother sometimes used to say about Lee, oh, she's got another man now. She's got Derek Ellis living there with her.
And I think her and that Derek had a few fiery arguments. They were off, they were back on together, then they were off, and then they were back on together.
So the community were telling us that the relationship between Lee Sabine and Derek Ellis was quite volatile.
Lee and Derek used to go out to I think it was the welfare they used to go to, and they would often get drunk and then come back and argue.
So we were able to trace some family members, including his daughter. We were able to establish that Derek Ellis had sadly passed away in 2010 of liver disease.
So it was clear that he couldn't have been the victim. We were back to square one.
I've dealt and worked on a lot of homicide investigations and never come across one like this. Normally, within the first hour, you usually know who your victim is and you've really got a clear starting point. In this case, we talk about it being a whodunit. It was very much a who is it.
Every time we thought we were onto something, we pulled a thread and it wouldn't go anywhere. So it was very frustrating.
In some ways, when you spoke to Lee, she seemed quite open about her life. She would sort of give you snapshots of it. Before Lee died, in the September of 2014, it was my mother's 80th birthday, so we'd organised a party for her. Now, I'm the oldest of 5 children, and we invited Lee to come to the party. I can remember her saying, there's such a lovely atmosphere of warmth here. And then she told me that she had 5 children. I was just, I don't think shocked, just really bemused by it all. I just thought, what is going on here?
Not once did she ever mention the children, nothing.
It was a very big fact to omit.
It just seems surreal to hide a secret like that.
There were no photos at all in the house of children.
She had no family photographs in her flat at all.
The first time we met her, she gave us her life story in 10 minutes. But never did she mention children.
Why not mention that you've got 5 children?
My name's Leanne Sabine. I'm the youngest of 5 children.
My name is Steve Sabine. I've never ever told my story because people don't believe it.
Would you like your fucking family destroyed, buddy?
My name is Jane Sabine. I am the second youngest daughter of Lee and John Sabine.
We've come all the way from Sydney to get 2 sides of the story.
Well, you should have phone. I have no doubt my mother was capable of murder.